Welcome to another version of the Round Table People. I'm Derek Harper, your host. My sidekick,
Miss Seneca.
Miss Seneca is back in the house again this week, you
Hey,
guys.
y'all.
And we have a very special guest today. Young man running for Congress, Errol Webber.
Hey, how are you doing?
It's good to see you, brother, in the house. You know. So we're gonna start this show off first because I just heard about the brother like this week recently, looking at your videos and whatnot, and it's impressive. So why don't you tell the folks a little bit about yourself that don't know about you? Break it down for them, let them know.
Hey, folks, I'm Errol Webber, and I'm the Republican candidate for Congress in California's 37th Congressional District. I grew up in Jamaica in a neighborhood called Vineyard Town, and when I was young, we experienced living in a neighborhood that experienced a lot of crime, a lot of shootouts on an almost nightly basis. And the final straw for us was when our house was hit by a rocket by some defense forces in Jamaica. And in 2002, our family came to the U.S., and we immigrated, became U.S. citizens. And throughout my time in the United States, I was interested in aviation. And then in church one day in 2003, I saw a camera operator running a video camera, and everything that camera operator did directly affected what came up on the projection screen at the front of the church. And I was fascinated. I was like 15 years old. And I wanted them to teach me how to do that. And they obliged. And the following Sunday, they threw me on camera, this big broadcast camera, and I was hooked. And I got into doing broadcast video and then studied art in high school. And my high school art teacher recommended I go check out a school in Baltimore to go study film. And I went and checked it out, loved it. It was the Maryland Institute College of Art. Studied film there for 4 years and dabbled in wedding videography in my early years. Started a video production company, registered out of my college dorm room. Did a lot of graphic design and event video throughout my time in college and paid for my way through college with that. Okay. And then toward my senior year of college, my film professor approached me about doing a documentary in Zimbabwe. And that was when I was like, let me do a quick research on Zimbabwe. I was like, okay, hyperinflation, water shortage, fuel shortage, food shortage, an autocratic president who's been in power, dictator, been in power for almost 30 years. Yeah, I'll go shoot a documentary in Zimbabwe. No problem. So I graduated college of May in 2008, May 2008, and then in June 2008, I was on a plane to Zimbabwe to go film a documentary about musicians with disabilities in Zimbabwe for 9 months. Ended up finishing that film, sold it to HBO, and then in 2010, that documentary won the Oscar for Best Documentary Short. So like first film out of college that I shoot wins an Oscar. Wow. And then continued on in the documentary world, doing documentaries about access to healthcare in Liberia, access to healthcare in Zambia, about women's health, about access to healthcare in rural America, about public versus private education in New York, about bullying, about the school-to-prison pipeline, U.S. labor movements, workers' rights, police community relations, prison reform, prison reentry, all of these issues. And after all these years of creating almost 24 documentaries and doing hundreds of screenings and town halls and workshops and roundtables, well, that's a lot of learning to take on.
Yes, it is.
So what do you do with this knowledge? Do you sit on this knowledge, or do you take this knowledge and put it into policy? And then once you put it into policy and solutions, do you then shop those solutions around by lobbying existing lawmakers, or do you run for office yourself?
Right.
What did you find out?
So one of the things that I found out about...
That lobbyist thing is really difficult.
It's difficult, and it's really hard to lobby a complete set of beliefs that are like the exact opposite of what is being represented in the district right now. Yes. So when you look at the Los Angeles area, we have, let's look at California for a second. We have a Democrat governor, Democrat lieutenant governor, Secretary of State, Attorney General. We have a Democrat mayor, a Democrat sheriff, a Democrat Congress people all throughout, Democrat-led assembly, Democrat-led state senate.
Basically a Democrat sinkhole.
And when you look at the 37th Congressional District, even with redistricting, the 37th Congressional District has been in Democrat hands since the early 1990s, like 1993, 1994. So the Democrats have had 3 decades to prove itself in this district. And what we are seeing right now is symptomatic of a century of neglect, a century of economic, social, educational, judicial lockout, disinvestment in this district. And the question now becomes, how do we fix it? First, we need to identify where these problems came from. And then, as a Republican myself, we're all about individual rights, individual liberties, individual responsibility. How can we incorporate those 3 tenets into solutions? Because what we don't want to go down the path of is group responsibility, which is how we got here.
Well, you know, I hear what you're saying. Everything you're saying is directly proportioned. But my thought is, how do we, to me, it's like our first thing is to look at those people that are been in office that long, their track record. I was talking to a brother today. I think that they should have to debate you new guys coming in every year. I don't know why the legislature doesn't have it where they have to debate you, okay? Because while you debating them, you get to debate them on their actual record, what they're doing, what they have done, what their policies have done. And the people don't see that in the debate. You showing them that they have not been doing their job. There's a better forum, but I didn't realize they don't have the debate for that exact reason. So to me, that right there should happen first. I hear a lot of people coming in and saying, well, we should do this first, we should try to do that. But to me, it's like we first need to look at any job I go to, it's about my last show. They don't care about how good I am and none of that. They care about, what did you do on your last show? Did you bring it on the budget? Did you bring it on time? Was you there on time? Was your crew good, efficient? So I want you to explain to me why we don't have where they, like Maxine Waters got to do debate Collins. She has to debate you. Why they don't make it so there's a debate so that the people can see that debate?
Well, right now they're in control when it comes to the House majority. They're also in control when it comes to state level matters. And when it comes to changing election laws, to remember each state is responsible for how they run their own elections. So if you want to incorporate a debate or mandate a debate, that is something that would need to be handled on the state level. Who would then be the front runner to push that legislation through or to push that change? The Secretary of State and the Attorney General.
Okay,
both Democrats.
Okay,
Are they going to do that to themselves?
No. So that's my point. Where is it that the people shouldn't be able to vote? Why the people should be able to vote? This is what's missing right now. We're not being allowing us to be able to vote to say, okay, we want that debate that overrides those politicians who say they don't want to debate, like you said, because they don't want to show their record. So how can we get that on the ballots, get that done? What's our effort of doing it?
Well, right now we have propositions, 14 through 25 that are on the ballot. There is an approval process for getting propositions on the ballot, and one of the ways to go about getting this on the ballot so that we, the people, can vote on it is to go through the approval process for another proposition in the next election cycle to ensure that it can go onto the ballot.
Good, because I think that right there is something that really needs to be had, because at that point, like you say, the decades that this lady been in office that you're going against, we can definitely see that she's been too busy worrying about Trump. All you hear her talking about,
hating Trump.
All you hear her talking about is Trump. Every time they ask her a thing, whatever, the Jewish community asked her certain questions. It's all about Trump, and they deflecting. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, they are lining their pockets. So basically, we have to get that agenda on so the people can vote. Okay, so that's one thing we need to think about as Californians to get in position to take our state back. Okay, so now that you've been on this trip, I commend you. I think what you're doing is a very courageous thing in a town full of Democrats, in a town full of Democrats. It's like, brother, trust me, you and Collins is doing a great thing. And I know it's an uphill battle.
But it's a necessary battle. And
yes,
we can't give up on the people in this district or think that just because there isn't as great a Republican representation or number of Republican voters in this district that we shouldn't put in the effort to make sure that their quality of life matters to everyone
No,
Okay,
I'm not
and
saying
so-
that. I'm absolutely correct on that because I'm not saying giving up by no means. I'm just saying
definitely
let's
not.
figure out another way of attack other than the norm to start shedding light on those people that's in the middle, haven't decided yet, or those people who continue to keep on voting for that without regardless having no information about what's really happening. You feel
So
me?
my question is, what made you decide to run as a Republican instead of being like the secondary Democrat for our particular district? Because I voted for you in the primaries.
Fantastic.
And
Thank
so I looked you up and I did a little bit of research on you. And the background that you're telling me today, it sounds phenomenal. And you're like the epitome of the American dream.
Thank you.
You know, you started from the bottom and you made your way up to the top, and now you're running for Congress, and that is fantastic.
Thank you.
And so, what exactly made you decide to, instead of going with the grain of, the Democratic
Yeah.
Party,
Or
the
independent.
Demon Rats, so what made you go against the grain
Okay.
as a Republican?
So a lot of folks who, especially a lot of black folks, when they talk about Republican politics or how they got to the point where they got, oftentimes they start from being an independent or they start from being a Democrat. I grew up in a Christian family, so I've been conservative my whole life. Both my parents are church ministers. Both my parents have doctorate degrees in Christian marriage counseling. I had that kind of upbringing. So being a conservative hasn't changed my whole life. So I've never been a Democrat my whole life.
Okay, right.
Yeah. Like most of us. Yeah.
And there's no way I'm going to compromise on my conservative values to go and vote, to go and represent or vote on Democrat policies or Democrat stances.
Right.
Because when you look at what Republicans are all about, if you as an individual are taught to take responsibility for your actions at a very young age, why would you then want to associate with a party that is okay with people making individual decisions but relying on group responsibility to atone for those decisions? I'm all about individual rights, individual liberties, individual responsibility. It's very important. I believe that it's important that we protect life at all stages of life.
Yes.
Why would I associate with a party that is championing and funding and making excuses for and finding ways to dehumanize people so that
Yes.
they aren't granted their 14th Amendment constitutional right to life and liberty?
Absolutely.
Why is it that I, as a business person who enjoys having lower taxes, why would I associate with a party that openly says to your face, we will raise your
are
taxes
going
and the
to.
corporate tax rate to 35%?
Yes.
Why on earth would I want to jump on board that party? I don't have any kids, but I've read much of the curriculum that is being pushed through California that is enabled by Assembly Bill 329. And this comprehensive sex ed curriculum, this, what is it called again? The comprehensive sex ed curriculum that teaches kids, I don't know what age group this stream is going to, but it's about to get pretty graphic.
Right.
Okay.
It's about to get pretty graphic. So this sex ed curriculum that was enabled by Assembly Bill 329 and then created by the ACLU and Planned Parenthood and the teachers unions, well, when you put all of those together and you see what they're teaching,
Yes.
they're teaching 6-year-olds how to pleasure themselves.
Right. What is that all about?
Now, let's get real. We know what, first of all, we know what it's all about first, because it's definitely from a lower nature of Satan. I don't care what nobody says. Let's keep it 100. That's from a lower nature of Satan that has been able now to infiltrate this whole system you're talking about.
Thank you.
Because a president named Barack Obama went down there and overturned California's vote of no gay marriage, which opened the door for all of these things you're talking about. So, but we continue. I know somebody. I want you to break this down.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Yes.
Grooming kids.
Yep.
Yes.
Normalizing pedophilia.
Yes. Yep.
We see it happening over and over again. So what I did, and this was before I even started running, like seriously started, before I declared candidacy in September of 2019, I went around this district and I asked people, do you know who your congressperson is?
Right.
9 out of 10 people can't tell me who their congressperson is.
Because I didn't know who mine was.
10 out of 10 people can't tell me who the state assembly person is or the state senator. And I go down the list and no one can tell me who their elected officials are. But then when I asked them if they voted in the last
And they're
election,
voting.
half of them said yes.
Exactly.
And when you look at the voter turnout versus the voter registration in this district, it's about 50%.
And what did they
So-
vote? When they went to the polls?
Many of them voted straight ticket Democrat. This
Yes.
district has
Yes.
a 6.99% Republican registration.
Yes.
So we had overwhelming people voting Democrat almost by default down ticket. In October of last year, we had Taste of Soul. You know Taste of
Yeah,
Soul.
yeah.
They shut down 4 city blocks along Crenshaw Boulevard. Food, music, entertainment. It's amazing. I was walking down the street,
Wait.
and if you went to Taste of Soul,
It's
last
like Taste
year,
the Hose.
I've never had it.
Let's just give it 100. That's what it really is. It is taste the hose.
Okay.
Okay, that's what it is. Taste the hose, because all them hoes
holes
down
in the
there.
wall.
It's called Taste the Hose. Because them Democrats is down there with all their little hoes pimping them.
Oh,
It's really
my
called Taste the Hose.
no.
Let's not be playing the game. Just talk Taste the Hose.
no.
So
Now
here's
go
the-
ahead, brother.
So here's the thing. They had a gigantic printout or inflatable portrait of Mayor Garcetti in the middle of the island, if you remember, down the middle of the street with his name. They can't tell me who the mayor of LA is. They had a stretch of different feature tents for different elected officials, and there was one for Karen Bass. And I stood in front of Karen Bass's tent and asked people, do you know who your congressperson is, with her name above my head?
Wow.
And they can't tell me who their congressperson
Wow.
is. I asked this one person, I went to go grab some Jamaican food at this one tent afterward, and I asked the cook, do you know who your congressperson is? And his response was, what is Congress? And then I followed up and asked him if
That's
he
too much for
voted in
me.
the last election. He said yes.
Oh, really?
We got people who don't know what Congress is voting.
And they're voting for Congress.
Now, of course, I'm not going to try to infringe on your right to vote.
Right.
But we need to make sure that we're
You
working on voter
educated to
education.
vote. To vote. Yes.
So,
yes.
now here's something that I do, because in order for people to understand that they're messing up with how they're voting, they need to understand the context of how their vote has an effect on them and their family.
Exactly.
And I learned that one of the best pressure points to get people to switch to Republican is to use the pressure point of kids. You see, they will let all kinds of atrocities happen to them,
Yes.
but the moment it starts affecting their kids,
That's right.
that is when they start going,
You're
so,
absolutely
here's
right.
what I do.
Break it down.
And
Let's
it works
see.
really well in pairs.
Okay.
So for 2 seconds, as much as this might hurt, pretend to be Democrats. And I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, you
It's
trying
going to be painful.
Yeah, you trying to.
It's going to be quite
All right,
painful.
Let me.
All right, let me take
Let me
another
snap
drink
off.
right quick.
You step my sanity out and put my dumb sense on. All right, now go.
So pretend
Okay.
you're a Democrat who don't know who your elected officials are, but you voted. You ready?
Okay.
So, hey, how you doing?
I'm great.
Errol Webber. What's your name?
Mac 10.
Mac 10. All right. Mac 10. Don't shoot me. So that sounds like a gun. So I got a question for you. I've been asking people all over the LA area. Do you know who your congressperson is? Do you know who your congressperson is?
You know, baby, who our family person is?
I believe it's some lady named Karen Bass that's supposed to be a communist, but I'm not quite sure.
Well,
No.
when we go to polls, you don't say you see no name. We just say Democrat. We just
Uh,
smile. You know, you saw a name? I didn't see no name. We always just do Democrat. Anyway, no,
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Why? Why should we know?
Well, somebody told me that's what her name
Well,
was.
let's fast forward through this. Do you know who your assembly person is?
No.
What's an assembly? Like
I
a
don't know
school
who
assembly?
that person
You know, a school assembly when we go at
Right.
assembly when
Well,
get,
we have free lunch and then we,
Talking about free
we
lunch
sit down and
they give us a
and
cheesecake,
they give us a
free,
party or something.
the free hot
What's
dogs?
going on?
That assembly?
Free pizza? What?
Oh my gosh. Do
Okay.
you know who your state senator is?
Kami, what's her name? Kami Harris.
Cammie Harris.
Kami?
It's that black girl. Who,
Right.
Yeah.
Kami Harris.
Kamala or something.
Kami.
Well, here's the thing. Do you know who your sheriff is? The LA County sheriff.
Yes.
It's a boxer or somebody. What's his name?
Oh,
Villa
wow.
who? Villa.
Well, I got a question for you. Did you vote
Villa
the last
Ragosa?
election?
Yeah, we
Yes, I
voted.
did, yes.
Yeah, we
All
voted.
right.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
this is what normally happens right here, where I have a conversation with somebody and I ask them if they know their elected officials, and when they don't, and I ask them if they voted in the last election, when they say yes, their friend usually looks at them very judgmentally.
Right.
And it cuts even more. But here's the thing. So here's what I do after that. Now that I've shown that there is a need for greater voter education, then I bring in this information. You have to add context. Here in California, we have 2 governing houses, kind of like the United States does with Congress when you have the House and the Senate.
Right.
In California, we have the California State Senate comprised of 40 members, where 31 of the 40 members are, 29 of the 41 members are Democrat. And then we have a state assembly comprised of 80 members, where 61 of the 80 members are Democrats. So we have a veto-proof 75% Democrat supermajority in our state legislature.
So we're in trouble.
So you only need 66%, 67% to pass certain laws and appropriations bills, and 66% to overrule governor's veto. So they have enough votes to make Gavin Newsom irrelevant. Now, you have to take a look.
Yeah, but they're not going to help us
yeah.
blacks no way anyway. So why should I care about that?
Now
They're not really going to help us.
check this out.
I mean, you know.
Check this out. Like, we have had Gavin Newsom for 2 years now.
Yes.
And before that, we had Brown.
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
I remember
Our worst
Arnold.
nightmare.
We had Brown back then.
We had Brown.
We had Brown.
And we had.
I remember
Arnold.
Arnold.
Yeah, he was a play Republican. You know, he was a fake Republican.
Okay.
Yes.
So where did Gavin Newsom come from?
Yeah, like
Nancy
Arnold
Pelosi.
Schwarzenegger was about as real a Republican as the Jamaican food in this district.
Yeah. And he set the Republican Party back in California too. But we right now we Democrats though. We got to stay with the script though. We Democrat. We not. Finish, my brother. Because all I know, you mess with my 40-ounce time. You know what I'm saying? My blunt,
my weed and everything.
went out.
Right.
So
exactly.
you need to get on with this, bro.
So here's something I
with all this vote
recognize.
stuff.
Like,
Yeah.
at this point, I will pull out a sheet of paper or my phone to show them a graphic of some of the pieces of legislation that have passed through the state assembly or state senate in very recently.
Okay.
And last year, August, September, there was a great little infographic that came out, and I would just show them this infographic. And it's things like Assembly Bill 499, which allows for children at 12 years old to begin making medical decisions for themselves.
Is that right?
And strips parents
about
of their
that.
ability to be able to see their child's medical record until or unless the child signs off on their parents seeing their medical record.
Wow.
Who's bagging that?
It allows for children to get medical procedures, including up to an abortion, without the parents' knowledge or consent. A guidance counselor can take your kid to a hospital and get a procedure done, and the parent is in the dark about it.
Okay, so
That is-
but you see, my thing is that what party? That's the Republican Party doing that. That ain't the party that I vote for. 'Cause, Democrats, we ain't doing that.
Well, guess what?
That's Republicans doing that.
Well, guess what? If you look at the voter record, and then I pull up the voter record,
Okay.
this was voted for in a party line vote. Every Democrat voted for this, and every Republican fought against it tooth and nail.
Really?
Wow.
Oh, did you know that?
A lot of
No, I
these pieces
didn't.
of legislation are being passed on a party line vote. When you look at Assembly Bill 329, which is the California Healthy Youth Act, it sounds cute, California
Yes.
Healthy
Yeah.
Youth Act.
They always put the cute names on the worst
the
things.
Trojan horses that they're going to teach about HIV awareness, but it's really just a way for them to open the door for organizations to create ridiculous sex ed curriculums that will then corrupt your children.
Now wait, before we go any further, you gotta let us know when we taking off the dumb hat because it's hurting my head.
I'm telling
We're
you.
not Democrat no more. You gotta let me know
telling
when the skit's
I
over, man. You
just-
gotta
well,
say action.
I
You
just
gotta
can't
say take or
continue
something because right now you got
to
my
play
head
this game.
about to pop with a bubble because I'm still trying to be in the Democratic mode. So
Yes.
are we done? I mean, let me.
It's dumbing me down.
I'm so glad
it's dumbing me down.
because I can't even pretend to be Democrat.
No, but you put us in that realm, so we had to take our real brain out and put our retarded brain in.
That's right. That's right.
And just like forget about all the natural facts. Let's just go for the loyalty of the situation. And because CNN, all of them say that the Republicans is this and the Democrats is that with no actual record, and all of this you're saying is showing the direct offense against God and what party is doing that.
Absolutely.
And people going to church every day in California still voting Democrat as if you don't understand. So continue, my brother.
So here we have Democrats in the state Senate passed Senate Bill 276.
76.
Senate Bill 276, which begins to crack down on your ability to choose whether you take a vaccine or not. So now we're stripping
Is
people
that
of their
right?
Fourth Amendment right to their persons and their effects and agency over their life when it comes to their medical freedom. So we have a state legislature also enabled by a governor
Okay.
and our attorney general who are quite fine with infringing on our First, Second, Fourth, Ninth, 10th, 14th Amendment rights. And I'm going to go through these. I'm not just rattling off numbers.
Okay.
no.
Okay.
So the reason I mentioned these 6 is because we are seeing this happen every single day, especially with this COVID lockdown. Let's start. Our First Amendment right protects 5 things: freedom of speech,
Right.
freedom of press,
Right.
freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, and freedom to redress your government for grievances.
Okay.
All 5 of those have been infringed upon in some way in California.
Yes.
No, why?
Now,
Tell me the big picture. Because, see, we can tell them all that, but see, we need to get to the nitty-gritty, the grits of it. Because there's a bigger picture where they're going, what the entity is doing through the minds he controls in order to be able to say, you're taking the mark of this beast. So it's just, it's designed, so he's chipping away at this. And this is what we really need to get at, as well as what you're saying. We need to know those numbers, but we also need to know how are they breaking down the power of us to not say, I don't want the Kool-Aid. When Jim Jones said, you drinking the Kool-Aid. You drinking the Kool-Aid, you going to drink the Kool-Aid, or you going to be imprisoned. So, go finish.
I got a question for you. If you were to eat an elephant, how do you eat an elephant?
Piece by piece.
One bite at a time. One bite at a time. You don't try to eat the whole elephant
right.
all at once.
Wait,
So
how
do
do you,
you,
let me answer that
how
first.
do you centralize and take over?
Go ahead, but let me
power?
answer that first. How would you eat it, you say?
Piece by piece.
I would eat from the weakest link first. I would eat from the weakest part of his body first. That part that he can't get to where I'm at, where I can start like under thigh. I would start the weakest part first, like he's doing like they doing with the
So
neighborhood.
is he alive or is he dead?
I don't matter what it is. I'm over there eating him from where he can't get down. He can't stomp his leg. I'm eating the weaker part first. And that's what they're doing now. They're attacking the weaker part, and now they damn near to the middle now. But continue. So I would eat from the weaker part first of his body.
So we have to look at the past decade of conditioning that has happened here in California, where little by little our rights keep getting stripped away, but not in a noticeable way. They always start with just one little thing here. Just make peace with us here. Just give us 2 weeks of a lockdown here.
Compromise.
Just compromise with us here, even
Work
though
with
it's
us.
infringing on our
And so we
constitutional
don't
rights.
kill our grandparents and we don't kill our neighbors.
Yeah, but then also let's make sure that we tell you how much of a victim you are and how much you need this.
Yes.
Because as long as I keep reminding you that you are apparently a victim,
Right.
not saying that you are a victim, that
Right.
apparently you're a
Right.
victim,
Right.
that you will continue to sign up for this. Oh, you're a victim, you're owed this. Let's get
yes.
you this.
You deserve it. You're supposed to have it.
you're
And anybody that tells you that you can't have it, it's something wrong with them. It's not something wrong
They're
with
racist.
you. That's right.
So how
That's
far?
right.
So
They're
with all
racist.
that, how far on this elephant have they eaten now so far? If you had to say,
I think they only to the feet.
how much have
I
they
think they
eaten?
only to the feet, maybe the legs.
Oh, they passed the legs. That elephant ain't walking no more. It's
Well,
dead.
here's
See,
the
the
thing.
whole thing is dead. So the elephant on the ground now. So what would you say?
Think about this. When it comes to businesses in California, they've made it harder and harder to run a business. And I had an interview about this on the radio this week and got into a heated back and forth because many Democrats don't recognize the consequences of their decisions. Like, for example, 30-some years ago, we had Prop 13, which was pushed forward by Howard Jarvis to protect California taxpayers, both residential,
Yes.
commercial, and industrial.
Yes.
Now we have this concerted effort by Democrats over the past 4 years, in earnest, over the past 4 years, to push back on this Prop 13 by slowly stripping away tax protections
Yes.
that property owners would have.
Yeah.
You see, what's happening right now is that many people in California are keeping their properties for a long period of time. So like you buy a property in 1984, and then that property, you bought it at say $80,000.
Right.
And now it's worth $2.4 million.
Yes.
Well, and just as an example, well, you see, this Prop 13, new Prop 13 that they tried pushing, which is now called Prop 15, what they were trying to do is to create a separate tax roll to pull commercial property and industrial property onto its own tax roll so that they can tax it at today's rate. But who
Right.
determines the value of the property? The state of California.
Okay.
So now your property might be worth 2.4 million, but the state of California might go, it's actually worth 4.6. So
Right.
we're going to tax you
Right.
the same percentage, but on $4.6 million, not $80,000.
So whose job is it for us? Whose job is it to inform us of this, to bring this information, to go back and fight against this? What I really want to know is, what is the actual job description of a Congress, the guy you're trying to be the Congress? What is his actual job description? I need to know what his job description
You make
is.
a very good point. I'm going to answer this other question first, and it's how do we get the education out? We need to mobilize our central committees to go out and do this. And the reason is these central committees, and what a central committee is, it's a party-based organization that is local to a particular district or precinct where people in that neighborhood can organize when it comes to finding new people to run for political office or mobilizing volunteers. That is what these central committees are for. So here in California, you have the California Republican Party, California GOP. Each county, all 58 counties, they have their own county party. So we have the LA GOP. In LA, we have different central committees based on all the assembly districts in California. So in the LA County area, we have the 50th, 53rd, 51st, 54th, 62nd assembly districts.
Right.
And each of those districts have their own central committees. And those local central committees are responsible for get out the vote efforts, for finding and sourcing volunteers, for getting people to be interested in running for office,
Right.
and also for voter education. So if you want to mobilize a small army of people to get going on voter education, start with your local central committees. Because if you try to start with the LA GOP or with your county level GOP, especially on a county this big, it might be too, like you might be barking up the wrong tree. So you need to start on the local level and also get guidance from the county level and the state level. So you can get guidance from the state level, and then you mobilize on the local level.
Okay, so what is the actual job
The job of
description?
a congressperson. A lot of people get this wrong, and I want to make it abundantly clear. The role of a congressperson is not to be your leader. The role of a congressperson is to be your representative.
Right.
Because there are so many issues in America that need to go to a vote, we have a system in place where we have a check and balance in our government. Now, how does this check and balance work? One is you have your legislative branch, which is comprised of your Senate and your House. The House is the lower house, and the Senate is the upper house.
Right.
All appropriations bills start in the lower house.
Yes.
So if you want, if there's a bill that involves taxation or spending taxes, it starts in the House.
So wait, we're going further. So their primary job is not to be your leader, but to be your
Congress
representative.
people are not your leaders. They are your voice.
So
They are not your leaders.
by them being your voice, then they're supposed to do things accordingly to your needs in your district.
Yep.
Yes, they work
Public
for us.
servants.
Your
Yep.
big servants. Okay, so when you're looking at your congressperson and they're not doing their job as that, you need to pay attention to that, correct? You need to
Absolutely.
pay attention. So I'm trying to bring it back home to the folks who keep on going to the polls and marking the same thing, but every day walking over the trash, every day watching stuff that they know they see every day. Every day they got it when they want to go to the grocery store, they got to go out their neighborhood to a decent grocery store to get food because the stores in their neighborhood are either not the big chains, because we done burnt those down.
Oh, I want to talk about that
Not
too.
the big chain, they done burnt them down.
Oh, I want
so
to
now
talk
all we
about
got
that.
a little Pepe's on the corner, little Sakawachi over here, and they got low third grade food in there, and so, but you still voting for this person who's not representing you. So let's continue with that, because all these other numbers and things is very great, but we need to break it down so they can understand on a level that when you go to this polls, you becoming the chump. And we're gonna play a video later on about what Mr. Malcolm X said about the general public turning into chumps. And let's just keep it 100, because it's right. California's the way it is because the rest of us has all turned to chumps and allowed them to do things that they never should have been able to do had we been woke.
So I just spoke about one branch of our government. The second branch is the executive branch, and that branch executes legislation. They don't make legislation. They might suggest it, they might talk about it, but ultimately their job is to take the completed bills on their desk and sign them into law or veto them.
And that's
that is the executive branch, which is the president and the president's cabinet.
Okay.
All right. Then you have the judicial branch, which judges the constitutionality of laws. Okay. So one branch makes laws, one branch executes laws, and the other branch judges the constitutionality of laws. And by having those three, oh my God.
Keep going, man.
What is going on here?
Man, I'm a Democrat.
Well, all right.
I'm a Democrat right now.
Yes, you are.
So don't
Yes,
be
you
messing
are.
with me.
Absolutely.
I'm a Democrat. Leave me alone.
Absolutely.
Leave me alone. I'm a Democrat.
So,
Okay, go on, man.
So these three branches of government are a check on each other so that the government does not become too powerful.
Okay.
Because we need to ensure that everything that we're doing minimizes the size, the scope, and the power of our government. Because ultimately it is our responsibility to lead our lives and define for ourselves the American
You
dream.
need the people.
Yes.
Say our responsibility.
Yes,
you
we
talk
the
about the
people.
people, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, with that said, there's a difference between the federal government and the state government and the local government.
Okay.
And there's a supremacy clause that says that local ordinances are superseded by state laws, and state laws are superseded by federal laws.
Okay.
So we have this breakdown of power and what each level of government is meant to do. The Constitution outlines that the federal government is not necessarily supposed to be an active player, but more of a referee. The federal government's job is to protect Americans and their interests. So pretty much the federal government's job is to protect the Constitution and to be our country's bodyguard.
Okay.
If the federal government is doing any more than that, it's overstepping. Now, the states are afforded additional rights that they can then take care of local and state level issues.
Right.
So if we look at the 10th Amendment, if we look at the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, any rights that aren't explicitly written for the federal government go to the state government. Now, what are some of these things that the state government is responsible for? Tackling homelessness, taking care of schools, and then you have local level issues like taking care of potholes and bike lanes. You have state level issues like taking care of highway networks, things of that nature. That's all state level issues. Mental health, state level issue. Drug abuse, state level issue.
Okay.
The federal government's job is everything that is involved in protecting the country. So that is drug enforcement, that is border security, that is foreign policy, that is travel restrictions, all of these things on the federal level when it comes to knowing who enters and exits our country, regulating.
That's the federal government.
So things like that. That's the
Trump,
federal government.
That's what Trump is doing.
There we go.
Okay.
And the Democrats are mad that he's doing his job.
Exactly.
Because for the first time in decades,
I'm trying to
we
get
have a
to the
president
real.
who's doing their job.
Yeah, he's doing his job. That's what I mean, it's great to have the information you give, and I'm glad, hope y'all paying attention, because a lot of us, had we not been skipping school, smoking cigarettes on the side of the building, we would already known these things, but we didn't do that. So
you know how much I gleaned from high school? There was this one song, and I'm sure a lot of people can sing along with this, but it's one thing that stuck with me in U.S. government class in 11th grade. And I'm sure you probably know it, but it's like, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice and yeah, that's about all that high schoolers remember.
Yeah.
And then everything else is just
Right.
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly. So the thing about it is, so that's why I'm saying what you're breaking down, I'm hoping y'all seeing that Trump is doing his job. Okay?
Now I want to talk about solutions. Let's talk about solutions.
That's where I'm trying to get it.
Because we've been chatting about problems all the time. Yeah.
So based on what you're saying, your opponent is definitely not representing her people.
No.
Would you say?
I would say.
Okay. So explain to me in what format that you could say that based on what she has done.
All right. I'm going to just show you her receipts.
Show me her receipt. That's what I want to know.
So I went through the district right before the primary elections, like 3 days before, because we had 11 days of voting, 10 days before the election day and then the day of. And I was walking through the district, passing out campaign materials, and I saw these two guys having a conversation on the sidewalk. And I struck up a conversation with them, asked them if they voted already, and they said that they did, and they voted for my opponent, Karen Bass. And they mentioned that they were military veterans.
Really?
And then I brought up Karen Bass's receipts. So there is a piece of legislation called Veterans Choice and Veterans Accountability. And it started out in 2014. Karen Bass chose not to vote on it.
Okay.
Yeah. So here we have a congressperson, and it's not just this, it's every military appropriations bill. Because remember, appropriations bills are bills that are talking about funding using taxpayer dollars for different issues.
Yes.
They all start in the House, meaning Karen Bass has a vote on it. Every military appropriations bill, or almost every military appropriations bill, and veteran-centric bill, she either votes no on it or chooses to not vote.
Is that right?
Kind of like Maxine Waters, who voted
Not kind
no.
of like Maxine Waters.
So here we have.
We ain't talking in kindness.
So now, I go to the Westwood Brentwood area, which is around Wilshire Boulevard, right next to the 405 freeway, and we have an entire row of homeless veterans on San Vicente Boulevard, who the overwhelmed VA that we have here in LA can't take care of them. But they are left destitute on the street. Meanwhile, we have, I believe, 600 acres of federal property earmarked for veterans that has been siphoned off by UCLA for a tennis court here and a luxury apartment complex here and a little school here. And they're just chopping away at this federal property meant for veterans. Meanwhile, veterans are literally rotting to death on the street.
On the streets.
And we say, oh my gosh, Semper Fi, Semper Fi. Where's the Semper Fi in leaving your brother in arms
Now, mind you, they
to
got
die on the street?
They got $70 million to help the veterans. San Francisco got money, all of them got money, and they never made it. They still on the streets. They gotten federal money to do this.
Now, think about this. I got an associate.
Where'd the money go?
I got an associate.
We know where it went.
He is... the money likes to disappear in the state.
Oh,
and
it doesn't disappear in the state. It disappears in the pockets, in the bank accounts.
Yes.
Yes.
Prime example is Measure H and Proposition Triple H, $1.2 billion.
And I voted on that.
Disappeared in 11 months. And we have a 42-unit building in this district. Each unit costs $692,000. Do you have a $692,000 condo? No, but homeless people do. And it has the design aesthetic of a college dorm. And you know those people are going to destroy it. So here we have massive waste, fraud, and abuse, no transparency, no accountability in the state. And all of these propositions, literally all of the propositions on this elections ballot are like, oh, here's $50 million for this and $150 million for that. And we know it's going to disappear.
Right, right.
So who holds accountability? Where's the accountant at? Where's our accountant?
Well,
who's the accountant supposed to foresee?
Well, if you have
money?
a Democrat insurance commissioner and a Democrat controller, where do you think the accountability is going to be?
In their pockets.
So what that makes us, so let's get this straight. So if this is all we're saying and we come to this conclusion, that means that the public is at fault as much as what they're doing.
We are
which
absolutely
makes
at
us
fault.
chumps. Now, do you want to play a segment of what Malcolm X says, and I hope we can wake up a few of us black nationalists that you call yourself, progressives, you BLMs and all that and stuff. Once y'all peep game on this and you understand what our role is, that we have forsaken to let a few people make us chumps.
The whites were evenly divided. It was the fact that you threw 80% of your votes behind the Democrats that put the Democrats in the White House. When you see this, you can see that the Negro vote is the key factor. And despite the fact that you are in a position to be the determining factor, what do you get out of it? The Democrats have been in Washington, D.C. only because of the Negro vote. They've been down there 4 years. And all other legislation they wanted to bring up, they brought it up and gotten it out of the way, and now they bring up you. And now they bring up you. You put them first, and they put you last. Because you're a chump. A political chump. In Washington, D.C., in the House of Representatives, there are 257 who are Democrats. Only 177 are Republicans. In the Senate, there are 67 Democrats. Only 33 are Republicans. The party that you backed controls 2/3 of the House of Representatives and the Senate, and still they can't keep their promise to you, because you're a chump. Anytime you throw your weight behind a political party that controls 2/3 of the government, and that party can't keep the promise that it made to you during election time, and you're dumb enough to walk around continuing to identify yourself with that party, you're not only a chump, but you're a traitor to your race. And what kind of alibi do they come up with? They try and pass the buck to the Dixiecrats. Now,
that's what I'm trying to go for. You know what I'm saying? Wow. Okay, so that was from Malcolm. Okay, that was from Malcolm, and a lot of these brothers on the corner who want to be, black Muslim, black this, the black that. At the same time, they still voting Democrat. It's like, where do you ever refer back to Malcolm and the people like in your district who continue to go to that ballot and punch that Democratic ticket, knowing now you're a chump. There ain't no doubt about it, you're a chump, okay? Because it should be about who's doing what you need representing you, okay? So let me ask you a question. What's the salary for a person that gets elected in the district? What's their first? It's a starting salary.
And now we're talking money.
Currently, it's $174,000 a year.
Is that right?
Yes.
$174,000 a year.
And then their entire cabinet gets just over $1 million to fund all of the other employees. Wow. So your policy advisors, your legal aid, your case workers, your bodyguard, all of that stuff comes out of that extra $1 million that your office gets.
Now, what's the average salary in the district that they represent?
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
So, California's 37th Congressional District, I'm going to tell you a little bit of the makeup of it. It's right in the middle of LA. It has neighborhoods like Beverlywood, Miracle Mile, Mid-City, Century City, Culver City, Mar Vista, Palms, Baldwin Hills, Ladera Heights, Lamert Park, View Park, Crenshaw, South LA, West Adams, Pico Robertson, Pico Jefferson, Exposition Park, Westwood. Am I missing any?
Yeah.
This district,
all the way down to Manchester.
So it's like Wilshire Boulevard to Slauson, the 110 freeway to Bundy. This district is 25% black, 25% white, 39% Latino, and 9% Asian, with a median income of $46,000 a year.
Is that right?
Wow.
Think about this. We got Century City and Culver City and Beverlywood in this district, Westwood in this district, but the median income is $46,000 a year.
Wow.
Meaning half the district is living well under $46,000 a year. Now you tell me with a straight face, do you think you can live in California well under $46,000 a year? Many tens of thousands of Californians in the 37th district are living in these situations of squalor where there is no economic investment in their communities. There are food deserts everywhere. We have crime that is constantly prevalent.
Yes.
We have a hatred for members of law enforcement.
Yes.
We have homelessness exploding by the year, even though we keep throwing money at the problem. We have a school system that has a 77% high school graduation rate and a 35% college graduation rate. This is what's going on in this district, and it hasn't changed much. If anything, it's only gotten worse in this district over the past 30 years.
But who do you think now can and is living off of that amount of money in this district? Since that's the average, who do you actually think is living off of that and making it and overpopulating from that money? And if you want to get, I can tell you right now, it's the people that's crossing that border without that wall, who are able to come here and bring the crime and bring their third world living here, where they can live 5 to a house and make it off of that 40, and driving out all the middle class and everybody else that's really out to other states and other places. Correct?
I'm glad
it's
you
cause
brought
and
that
effects.
up.
So break that down for me on that.
I'm glad you brought that up.
That's why Trump's trying to block this wall to bring back some of that, where some jobs come back and that rate of income come back. But break that down for me.
Let me show you a little correlation between a little cause and effect when it comes to many of the issues that we have in this district. Remember that for Congress, I'm running for a federal position, meaning I'm running for a bodyguard position with the United States. I'm not running to do fixing potholes and dealing with your road diet and your bike lanes. That is for your local officials to deal with. That's for your city council. Now, we complain about the access to affordable housing. We complain about the availability of affordable housing. We talk about the availability of services in this district. And you have to ask yourself, how did we get to where we are? Let me show you how we got where we are. We have a president, for once, who is taking national security seriously.
Yes.
So seriously that it's ticking off the left. One of the things
and
that...
some of the right.
And Satan. Satan. It's really taking Satan off. That's who it's really taking off, but go ahead.
So when it comes to national security, we have 1,954 miles that we share with Mexico.
Okay.
Is it responsible financially for us to have border personnel lining 1,954 miles? No, it's exorbitant. But there is something that we can do. We can put up a wall, which it won't eliminate all border crossings, but it will channel potential border crossers to legal ports of entry where they can be legally and properly and efficiently processed.
Exactly.
Now, of course, with this border wall that we are currently at, 400 miles made, which is great.
We're moving on.
We're moving on. It is we have seen dramatic reductions in border crossings and border crime in areas that have the wall erected.
That's right.
Now, if we did not have a border wall and we just continue to be lax about people entering our country, what it does is that it displaces American citizens from accessing the already scarce affordable housing and services in the district.
That's true.
Now, you remember, we are in a market economy, a capitalist market economy, where there are goods and services that need to be traded, and you have demand and you have supply.
That's right.
If you have a finite supply of housing and a seemingly infinite number of people needing that housing, the cost of housing is going to go up.
Right.
Now.
What a thought!
What a thought. But now, on top of that wall, correct? That wall, okay, on top of that wall, the country that's on that side of that wall, who, when NAFTA was there, they didn't have to sit down and agree with us. They didn't have to try to do nothing. When our president took that away and made an actual fair agreement and let them know that you block that part of your thing, or there'll be no more trucks coming over there and companies go to Mexico.
Tariffs.
So this is why he's doing that. So don't get mad because he's only tariffs in China. He's tariffs in Canada and everybody else who don't have the natural interest of America. Hey,
Because here's the thing. Everyone wants to do business with America. Well, there's a cost
absolutely.
to doing that.
Now-
and if you want to keep playing, if you want to play ball with America, you need to play by our rules right now.
That's
Because
Right now. It's always
That's
been that
right.
way, though, but right now it is. Now, on top of the wall and making those countries do their thing, the next thing is he drops that bomb to those tunnels. 'Cause everybody said, well, they can go under the ground. Well, he's going to drop that bomb on that tunnel and bring them roaches to the top. Because
Hello.
don't think we're going to let y'all get by with that neither, because that ain't happening. And that's what's happening. So let's just keep that 100 on that, too. So with all this man is doing, it's amazing to me that regardless of you like him or not, it's amazing that regardless of like you or not, the writing is on the wall about the people in office and what they've been doing. Okay?
we're not doing.
Well, not doing. Okay? The writing's on the wall that it's not about color, race, or any of that. It's about the quality of life as individuals, because the Constitution says we the people. It didn't say we the black people.
That's
it didn't
right.
say we the Chinese people.
That's
it didn't
right.
say it say we the people.
That's right.
Okay? So it's a shame that these people have been there that long and been getting away with so much. But now, what is the salary? How much? Do you know how much money this woman you going against has in the bank? Do you know what her net worth is?
Well, that number can change, considering that she does have an organization. in
Flop
the
house.
district.
Oh yeah, she got a trap house. She got a trap house. I wish she got. She got a trap house with the money in the safe. But let's give me what you think it is. The average, whatever
Buried
it
in
is.
the backyard.
You tell me.
I say it's about $8 to $5 million. Her net worth.
I can't corroborate that, but I will look into it.
I bet you. Look into that. So because it's about $8 to $5 million. Because my son and I did a broadcast where he went and did all the people, the Congress people in California, when they big account when they first got in, to what it was 2 years later. And I found that some of them got in with like $80,000 in their bank account. A year and a half later, they had $800,000 or $3 million. Now,
I'll give you
how
a
did
great
you accumulate?
example.
Right.
How did you accumulate that in 1
Right.
year's time off that salary when your bank account was only $89?
I'll tell you exactly
What you
how.
do? I want to know what you did. You work at Walmart. What you do?
I'll give you
Spread
three,
the news.
I'll give you 3 examples. I'm going to give you a Karen
Break it
Bass
down.
example.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a Maxine Waters example. I'm
Yeah.
going to
Live in
give
a
you
$6 million house.
I'm going to give you a Ilhan Omar example. You ready for this? So in the Karen Bass example, you have to remember that though Congress people are beholden to doing their job for Congress, family members can have companies that can be consultants
Okay.
My
for their campaign.
mama got the
Okay.
my mama name.
So,
Just like
so
with,
Karen Bass
Joe
can-
Biden and Hunter and his brother, and how they have all of these millions and billions of dollars overseas from
Now-
China to where's the other place?
Ukraine.
Ukraine, and they're doing underground dealings, even though Joe Biden says he doesn't know anything
Now,
about that
let's
money.
look at it on the local level.
Okay.
I'm going to go talk about Maxine for a second. You see,
Well, let's
Maxine
talk
has a
about her.
daughter. And Maxine's daughter runs a company that creates mailers.
I heard about
political
that.
mailers. So I asked the U.S. Postal Service, how much does it cost to hit all 300,000 houses in the 37th Congressional
Well,
District?
first of all, explain to us exactly what is a mailer. What does
Okay.
that mean?
Not a problem. So there are versions of political mail that's on like thicker paper than this.
Okay.
That is about twice the size of this.
Okay.
That has materials. It can be on a political issue. It can be a get out the vote issue. It can be about a particular person.
Okay.
And then on the back, it's normally formatted like a postcard where you have the address that it's going to and a lot of pertinent information in very large text on the front.
Okay.
Well, these mailers are a great way to get stuff out, but one of the things I noticed is that the mailer is kind of inefficient because it normally just ends up in these U.S. Postal Service bins outside people's apartments and no one ever reads them. So I have campaign volunteers walking this to people's doors and getting it straight to them.
Right.
I'm not wasting paper.
That's right.
You know, because we're real environmentalists. We really care about the environment.
Yeah.
But the other thing I learned, so there was a town hall that was held in the district right before the primary elections.
Okay.
And somebody approached me at the end of it and they were like, oh, I'm from the U.S. Postal Service. I'd like to set up doing mailing with you. And I asked them, so how much does it cost roughly to send out a mailer to everyone in the district? It costs $45,000.
Is that right?
To send out the mailer. That's just mailing. And then I went to my print company to see how much it costs to print 300,000 campaign mailers, and it costs $9,000. So 45 plus 9 is $54,000
Yes, it is.
to get one mailer out to every door in the district. But here we have Maxine Waters paying her daughter $600,000 to $800,000 to send out mailers, but she don't send out that many mailers.
I don't
So
think
where's the rest of this money going? 700,000 minus 54,000 equals a lot of thousand left over.
So what means is, what it means is that like I heard Gavin Newsom gave her $40,000 or whatever when he was running to do his. He gave it to her.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Now, so really what happened was he gave it to her. You know, that he can write it off or whatever, and say he used the campaign money, whatever. And then when she get the money, she already know what's up. She need to break back that 10, 15% back to him. And they got this thing going on, and that's what they doing with y'all monies and y'all dollars. And so that's why she can live in a $6 million house.
Hey.
Now I'm gonna tell you right now, I ain't no hater. When y'all start saying, oh man, you hating on her swerve. No, I ain't hating on her swerve. My thing is, as long as you getting your money, you making sure your district getting their money.
That's right.
As long as you making sure that we got the proper stores in our neighborhood, as long as you making sure that our average income in the neighborhood went from 40 is up to 60 or something, and rising, and you getting your money, that's all cool, okay? But when we sending you there and you is getting richer and all your constituents and we going down, and you telling us to hit him in the head when you see him on the street. No, we need to hit you in your head. Okay, we need to hit you upside your head.
I'm gonna share
in
a
the
story
street.
about
Break
that.
a story. Yeah, give me a story.
I'm gonna share a fun
hit you in the
story.
head when you see him on the street. Yeah, no, but your district is over there getting hit in the head every night with gunfire and everything
I'm trying
else.
to tell you.
Okay, while you in your house eating your cookie like, wait, hold on. Pelosi had the nerve when this virus started to be sitting in front of two Viking refrigerators. They cost
$25,000
whatever
each.
the fuck they cost. She said, well, we don't need to go out. We can eat ice cream.
Yeah, we
while
just
you
eat ice cream all day.
$30 a tub ice
I
cream.
thought,
Right.
Really? And y'all just gonna vote her in again. And that's why Malcolm X said we being chumps. So right now in the day, we gonna start owning up, because you can only get out of Trumpism if you own up as being a chump.
Okay,
Go
well,
ahead,
I have a
Break it
question
down.
for you, Errol.
Break it down.
Yeah.
Okay, so the opportunity zones.
Yes.
Okay, so
I wanna talk
you
about
know,
that.
so
Let's
you
go.
know, Democrats are against opportunity zones because it is a Republican thing, quote unquote, even though it will bring more money, more black businesses into our black neighborhoods.
I'm about to break your heart for a second.
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
Our heart been broken.
I'm about to break your heart.
You gonna break our heart.
I'm about to break your heart. Watch this.
Okay.
Watch this. Here we go. We went through the Great Depression in the late 20s and early 30s.
Yes.
When America was getting back on its feet in the mid 30s, we had Democrat Franklin Delano Roosevelt in power as president. One of the things that he wanted to do was to spur economic growth and create construction jobs to get people back to work.
Okay.
So he signed into law the National Housing Act of 1934.
Okay.
This allowed for the federal government to give Americans low-interest federal housing loans so that they could pay to renovate their house or build new houses, which would spur jobs.
Right.
There's one problem, though. It left the door wide open for discrimination. And what happened was that the developers and city officials were starting to outline areas that were higher risk and be lower property value. These areas they would mark off in red lines. Redlining. Now check this
I
out.
heard a red line.
I have to.
While home ownership in the United States rose from 50 to 70% between the 1930s to 1950s, only 2% of low-interest federal housing loans went to black families.
Wow.
And only 1% of low-interest federal housing loans went to black families in redlined areas. When you look at historical redlining maps, there are 3 major redlined zones in this district.
Okay.
Inglewood, Crenshaw, and South LA.
Well.
So here we have almost a century, about 90 years of Democrats economically locking the black community out of being able to build generational wealth.
And where was Maxine Waters that she knows the same information that you're giving?
And Karen Bass,
where is she
by
at?
the way.
let me keep going.
Karen Bass.
Where's all them folks?
Okay.
Where them folks at?
But let me keep going.
But they saying them white folks.
Because
Them white folks.
I
Them
ain't
white
done with
folks.
y'all. I ain't done with y'all. You ready for this?
Break all on down.
Let's go through this. We have the 1950s through 1960s and 70s, the civil rights movement.
When I was there.
There was segregation of schools.
I was there.
We had people like Joe Biden, who was staunchly anti-busing.
Yes.
We had people who were fighting against civil rights on the Democrat Party side. Like, for instance, we had the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that Democrats in the House filibustered for 75 days.
Yes.
Democrats fought against the Civil Rights Act of 1964 for over a month.
Wow.
Well, actually, over 2
Over
months.
2 months, yes.
Now, let's keep going. We have Senator, oh gosh, what's that KKK leader
Who's
call
that?
again?
Ooh, not-
Robert Byrd.
Yes.
Senator Robert Byrd.
Yeah, the friend
former-
of Joe Biden.
The Bird
former
Man.
member of the KKK. He filibustered the Civil Rights Act of 1964 for 14 hours on the Senate floor.
A Democrat?
Yeah, Democrat.
Absolutely.
But let's keep going. I'm
Well,
not
wait,
done.
but
All
wait,
right.
before we keep going, because I'm gonna tell you something. A lot of my friends, I send them all the information over the phone. I send it to them, and they all you hear is crickets. They don't respond back.
That's why.
Because they don't. I don't care. This is what my hair just says. But now I want you to tell me, with that you're saying that the Democrats did filibuster all that, bring it to today's day.
Oh, that's what I'm doing.
But warp speed, because we don't have much time. Warp speed to show these people.
All right, I'll
that
just warp
was
speed.
then.
Okay,
That was then.
Yeah,
That was their
then.
party.
Yeah.
That
Let's
was
work
But
on
think about
Donald
this.
Trump time. Let's work on Donald Trump time.
Yeah. So let's go on Donald Trump time. Yeah, baby. So let's go.
Think about this. So,
So how that affecting us still right
Democrats
now?
have been in power in California and New York and Chicago all these years.
Yes.
And almost 50 years, over 50
Yes,
years
over
in some
50 years,
cases.
yes.
And we're introducing drugs into these cities.
Yes.
Spurred the war on drugs.
Yes.
And mass incarceration in 1994. The
Yes.
crime bill actually
Thanks
started in the late
to
80s.
Joe
Thanks to
Biden, our
Joe Biden.
presidential candidate
And in the
for
2000s,
the Democratic Party.
And in the 2000s, here in California, who took advantage of the 1994 crime bill?
Was
and
that
locked up-
Senator Harris?
Locked up people beyond their sentences.
Was that the VP Democratic?
to continue to
candidate right
proliferate jailhouse labor?
Okay.
No.
Okay, but let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Keep going.
All right.
So here we have economically locked out in the 1930s,
Yes.
educationally locked out in the 1950s,
Yes.
judicially locked out in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and here we have people on the Democrat Party going, yes, you should vote for us because the Republicans are the devil. Excuse me.
Right.
Excuse me. Here we have Republican Senator Tim Scott, who back in
Yes.
2017 introduced the Opportunity Zones plan, which was incorporated into Trump's 2017 tax plan.
From South Carolina.
Opportunity Zones allows for Americans of all backgrounds in all communities to
Yes.
be able to take existing investments that they have and existing capital gains and invest it in new property, tax-free or tax-deferred.
Okay.
Which is a fantastic way to move money and create new investments.
Yes.
Now, if you look at historical red line maps, and then
Line
you look at
maps.
the Opportunity Zones map, the Opportunity Zones map almost identically overlaps the redlining maps, meaning
Wow.
Republicans are
Wait.
quite literally
Wait a minute.
undoing a century
Yes.
Wait a minute.
of Democrat
Yes.
Wait a
oppression.
minute. That right there. That right there. That right
So
there
is
needs
it
to like.
true?
wait.
Is it true?
No, it's not about it because it's already out there what you're saying. When you covered that area again, that's why I had let's warp drive for now. So y'all who paying attention now that he broke it down
Yes.
from how it started with the red line districts and all of us and Snoop Dogg and all y'all talking about all that and Trump is all that when we've been red line and now he's coming to an opportunity zone
Yes.
that's gonna now give those red lines things an opportunity to do something.
Yes.
Now take
Y'all
a
need to
look-
pay attention to that.
Now take
Yes.
a look at this.
Do your research though first. Look at what the man saying. Do your research on it. Do your research
Do
on
your
it.
research. So we know Inglewood. Inglewood has sprung up over the past year or so.
Yes,
The
it
new
has.
stadium came in. I saw an article
it
about a
has.
year and change ago where one person's rent went from $1,100 a month to $2,700 a month. You remember that article? It was
Yes.
disgusting.
But
Now
wait,
check this out.
wait.
Now check this out. Check this out.
Go
You
ahead,
see,
because I'll tell you something about that.
property owners in the district are sitting pretty. Their property value went up. People who are renting, people whose grandparents were relegated to not owning things in Inglewood,
See.
are rightfully angst. Because remember, their grandparents were economically and educationally locked out of this district.
Now, but
They
let me
were.
stay with happened. But,
Wow.
right. But co-part
That
of
is
that, because I
incredible.
want to go back to the people's fault. But on the ballot was rent control in Inglewood. It was on the ballot. Okay, and they told these chumps that, well, that's a Democratic thing. Or the Democrats trying to make you, they're going to raise your rent and all that. And they tricked them out. So that's Republicans
They
trying
did.
to come in. And they tricked y'all out of rent control
Yes.
when you could have had all that.
Yes.
Somebody was a Republican was trying to put that on the ballot to help control that because they knew what they were going to do with their stadium, and y'all voted against it. Then after you voted against it, now you want to stand on the corner with picket sign talking about we want somebody ranking. So we need to wake up and realize you chumped yourself, and you understand that this is the opportunity with this brother's breaking down for us to see your chumpism.
Hey.
Now,
Give me some more.
Now
Give me
check
some
this
more.
out. You see, it's one thing to have a resource available. It's another thing to know how to use that resource. So while I am grateful that we have opportunity zones in place, it's now incumbent upon us as representatives to represent the people
Yes.
to implement an education program that teaches the regular average Joe how they can become property investors in our community. Because we saw BLM burn down communities because they didn't own anything.
Exactly.
They felt not beholden to it. But if we can get more people to own property in this district, residential property, commercial property, and start taking pride in their district, we can now start directing our dollars to the community and making our communities a tourist attraction.
That's right.
Hold on, this right here is
That's
very
right.
important right here. So you said BLM. Yesterday, our brother came to my house and sat in my living room. He runs a nonprofit organization.
Okay.
And I brought up BLM, and he said, brother, a pastor came to me and said, BLM wants me to organize some people to hold signs and go down to this place. And they're going to pay me $1,200. So he said, okay, I'm going to do it for the money. So he said, now, he had 3 Mexicans, Hispanics, I mean. He had Caucasian, 2 Caucasians, and he had 4 blacks. And they all got paid. But the Hispanic got paid $175 a day and got fed. The Caucasian got paid $85 and got lunch. The blacks only got $35
Wow.
and they got no lunch. And they was at the hold the sign. And this is what BLM members doing. This is what y'all need to understand what's happening. I got this firsthand from the brother, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's like, it is deep. It's
But
retarded that we're
but
still following that.
BLM is supposed to be the Black Lives That Matter, but they're getting a short end of the stick.
The whole picket signs. Yeah.
Well,
So,
it begs the question, how much do Black Lives Matter to Black Lives Matter? Because I went to a
Not too
Trump
much.
rally that was held in Tahunga, California.
Okay.
And at this rally, because I'm running for office, I'm going to go talk to the counter-protesters, the BLM folks across the street. So I cross the street, and I go to talk to these BLMers who have batons in their hand. They're dressed in their black and all that.
They're ready to beat you
know
down.
what? Let me talk to these guys. And one of the black guys from the BLM counter-protest walked up to me, and my face was like, get out of here. You better go you better go to across the street.
Wow.
And so I'm about to punch you. I'm like, wait a minute, slow down. So you, a black guy,
Yes.
are about to hurt and injure a black guy
Right.
at a Black Lives Matter counter protest.
Right.
Please help me make that make sense.
It doesn't.
But now also,
It doesn't make sense.
Black Lives Matter has about $1 billion, and now you know why they have $1 billion.
$2 billion.
Somebody
$2
is
billion.
financing them to have those people out there with the signs. Have those people. They people getting paid to do all this destruction,
Yes, they
y'all.
are.
They ain't out there for the beauty of the movement. They getting paid. So all them little people you see jumping in the store, knocking stuff out, they getting a check, and they getting around the corner is the craft service. Okay,
Yes.
around the service, the craft service machine. They getting fed, and your turn, and they're going back out there doing that.
So I want to share something real quick.
Sure,
I'm
really.
hosting, so the way I do my campaign events is I try to make them BLM and Antifa proof. And this is how I do it.
Okay.
I host a moving car rally. It's really hard to attack a moving target.
That's right.
So I do car rallies, and then the other thing, like this coming Sunday,
Okay.
we're having a rally at a gun range, a gun rally.
Where? Which
at
one?
Oak Tree Gun Club
Okay.
in New Hall, California.
Okay.
This Sunday from 1 to 5 p.m. I invite
Okay.
everyone to come out.
All
I've
right.
never had any. I've hosted the event twice,
Okay.
and I haven't had Antifa or BLM come and picket my event, probably because everybody there has a gun.
That's right.
So
We're armed and dangerous.
I
Very
believe
good.
it's important for us to protect our Second Amendment,
Yes,
and that
indeed.
every American practices their right to keep and bear arms and practices gun ownership and proper gun practices.
Yes.
After the first event that I held, 2 days later, one of the rally goers who went to my event had a home invasion, and their brand new gun that they trained themselves on at my rally, they were able to competently use it and hold off an intruder 2 days after my rally.
And that's what it's all about.
And another reason why, the BLM is not showing up to a thing, because whether you know it or not, first Trump supporters was being quiet, was being cool, while y'all did all your rhetoric and all your rusted. But now you done woke up the sleepy giant of the American people. Us middle class folks is waking up and continue to wake up, continue to have your car rallies, continue to do your thing, and go against this opposition, because, as I always say, this is beyond the human experience. It's between Satan and God.
Yes.
Okay? And we all the pawns on the table. And so when you go to do your ballot, you got to ask, is this for the people or is this for the representative? What is really going on? Brother, I'm really glad that you graced us, man, with with your presence, and you came in and gave us some knowledge. We would love for you to come back.
Certainly.
You know what I'm saying? We're gonna put this thing together, because, like I said, in your district, I asked one of the guys in your district about boxing. I asked him about the lady. He said, and I said, "You vote for her?" He said, "Yeah." And I'm like,
Why?
You know about this? Why? And he just looked at me. Real educated realtor brother of mine, but he just looked at me with this blank look on his face, like, I don't care what you say. I don't care how good this guy can be bringing the cure for cancer.
Right.
I don't care. I'm going for him. That's how he looked at it. So in closing, everybody give a real quick closing thing.
Okay.
Go.
Well, I would like to say thank you so much, Errol Webber. And
Thank you.
like I said, I voted for you in the primaries.
Fantastic.
And
Thank
I
you.
am looking forward to seeing you as our next Congress in the 37th District. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much. Can I share a couple quick things? I know we're running out of time. I just want to share a couple quick things. I'm going to rattle it off.
Okay.
As a Republican, I believe it's important for us to start voting on our conservative-held values and
Yes.
not just not compromise on our values just so that you can vote Democrat or say that you align with the Democrat Party. Because being a Democrat right now is not cool. There's nothing cool about being a Democrat. Now, check this out. I have an associate who's a combat wounded Air Force veteran, multiple business owner, multiple gun owner, has a family and kids, rents a property in Santa Monica, God-fearing Christian who goes to church multiple times a week. Votes for Gavin Newsom, who's trying to strip him of his gun rights, doesn't care about the VA, strips him of his ability to run a business. His rent is too high. His family is not safe. His grandkids aren't safe from the curriculum that's being taught. So pretty much he has compromised on every one of his beliefs to vote Democrat. And I believe it's important for us to start aligning ourselves and emphasizing the importance of these things.
Absolutely.
We need to make sure that we are pushing for strong national security. We need to make sure that we are working to incentivize bringing businesses back to the U.S. and back to California.
Yes.
Specifically.
Yes.
Majorly
indeed.
back to California.
We need to lower taxes and reduce regulations. We need to
Yes.
make sure that we are not getting the short end of the stick when it comes to foreign trade.
That's
We
right.
need to make sure that our prescription drugs are not being produced in other countries, giving
Thank
other
you.
countries leverage over our health.
That's
We need to
right.
make sure that we are promoting school choice so parents have a right to choose what is taught to their children and where they send their children to school.
Yes.
We need to make sure that we are teaching our kids skilled trades as early as middle school, teaching them financial literacy, advanced financial literacy as early as the 6th grade.
And keeping jobs here that they can work on when they do.
That's right.
So that kids can have the agency to choose how they lead their life. So senior year of high school, they're ready to either go to college or go into the job force or start their own business or
right.
start investing.
That's right.
All of these things so that
Yes.
we can start defining for ourselves the American dream. We need to make sure that we retain our right over our health, our medical freedom. The government should not be getting into our healthcare affairs.
That's right.
So other things that we need to make sure that we're tackling. We need to make sure that we're fixing the foster care system. It has been a wedge issue platform plank on Karen Bass's campaign website for at least 2 election cycles now. Fix the foster care system. It sounds good. She never does anything to fix it. We need to tackle making sure that we tackle child trafficking and human trafficking in general. These are all very important things. We need to make sure that we're taking care of our veterans.
Absolutely.
We need to make sure that we're taking care of our black community as well.
That's true. But right now, in closing, if nothing else, let's try to make sure that we get on the ballot that we require a debate between the incumbents, and that's what I think really needs to happen. Because that right there is going to show the people who keep voting the same way when you start bringing up their record of what they actually done when they came around that 4 year and told you what they're going to do. And now it's time for them to do the book report. It's time now to see the book report. We need to make sure that that's what we need to do first. So there's a lot of things been said, but let's try to, at least as the people taking back our power, let's start trying to chip away at that power. And first thing is first, let's get the debate thing on the ballot. Now, in the event that that you don't make it, you don't win this, brother, I want you to come back because I got to settle ideas. I'm going to bounce off of you because we don't want you to...
this is not my last race, by the way.
No. I'm saying, I came up with a thing called, you got bar rescue on TV? I want to do district rescue.
Ooh,
okay.
That's what I'm on board already.
That's what I'm trying to tell y'all right now.
We're
gonna do district rescue. You feel me?
Man.
So we ain't done. So don't y'all think because you won that you safe because we coming at you. We still coming at you. District rescue is coming.
I love it.
Right.
I love it. I want to jump on board immediately.
District rescue is coming.
Fantastic.
That's what
because I've seen kitchen nightmares. I've seen bar rescue.
I've seen barge, all that.
I am totally on board.
We're gonna get district rescue.
Okay.
District rescue on TV. We're gonna do it on the same platform that bar rescue. The first thing he does is attack how bad the place is, how bad the restaurant is. Then he goes to the restaurant's bad. Now who represents it? Who's the owner? Then he goes after them. And it's a systematic thing that he does. And it came to me that's what we need to do in our districts. We need to first examine. Look how bad the alleys is and the roaches and all that. Now who is doing now? Maxine, you're the owner of this bar. Now why is this looking like this? We're gonna go down the line. So get ready for district rescue is coming.
I love it.
District rescue, y'all. And then closing, that's all we got to say.
Okay.
All right. Peace.
Make sure you get out and vote.
Oh, and God, thank you for this time.
Yes.
We always want to give God a special hand through the blood of Jesus, through the power of the Holy Spirit for allowing us to make this possible. Thank you very much. Amen.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.